Okay, there we go. Damn it. Can't get that. There we go. Oh, Jesus. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Dawn. I was just reading your image, two images. They're absolutely fabulous, I think. I mean, I have those hypnagogic images too, and they seem like they're unrelated, but they are related. Hi, Roy. I was just telling Dawn, I really think her hypnagogic visions are they're very beautiful, actually, I think. And I think you had the right idea to them as well. Let me just go over them real quick while we can come back to them. But how are you doing, Roy?
Yeah, I'm good. We did a little tropical storm last night. It was kind of rocking and rolling, but it was okay.
Oh, I know what happened. I turned my, one time, just a second. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. I had my sound turned on. What? Can you speak?
Oh yeah. I was just saying we went through a tropical storm last night.
Oh, yes.
We're okay. No big deal.
Yeah, I mean, my wife was watching the reports of it today, and yeah, I mean, how's it going down there?
Oh yeah, it was a tropical storm, and so the power didn't go off. It was just a limb bender. It's heading out in the Gulf, so it's not going to bother us anymore.
Oh, good. So you're in on the Atlantic side, and it went to the Gulf. So did it go south by the Keys, or just went?
You're talking about irrational. It went to Central America, and then it come back to Miami, and now it's going out in the Gulf, and then it's going to come back and hit Central Florida or North Florida, Tampa or above.
Well, isn't that funny that it just kind of does that curve? I
It's
always
the
thought
snake dance. It's a snake dance, Craig.
Because I always thought that if it would, hi Kevin, I always thought that
Good morning.
it couldn't hit both the Atlantic side and the Gulf side in the same pass.
Oh yeah, it can hit it and hit it again. It can zig east and west and east and west.
Yeah. Well, hi Kevin. I thought while we're waiting, I just wanted to go over Dawn what she sent. It's so beautiful. I mean,
yeah.
Now I'll say that I have these hypnagogic images, and like I'll get them, and they'll be in a series of 4 or something, and but they seem to fit together, a little bit. I had this one. Maybe I can show you. I can get on. But anyway, let's just go with hers first, and I'll show you mine later. Okay, the first thing was a couple ballroom dancing together. Okay, so it's the masculine and the feminine aspect, and they were dancing and spinning together perfectly, and rather quickly heading towards the right side of the room, which would be the more conscious side. Okay. So the this couple that she sees, it's not a dream, it's a vision. Hi, Gary. Are moving this union of masculine and feminine are moving towards the right. They're dancing and spinning together perfectly and headed to the right. Now, Dawn thought that this was a positive thing, but what troubled her was the way they danced seemed almost like a comedy. You know, there was a comical aspect to it. There was no solemnity or beauty or anything in that like that. It was just sort of a, my wife just accused me of being very nonsensical about something. She was trying to tell me something. I didn't know what to say. And I said, well, what was it? I said, well, that's the most surprising thing I ever heard. And I've heard a lot of surprising things in my day. And she says, what the hell does that mean? Anyway, so they are moving towards the right. So there doesn't seem to be a seriousness in this. So it's almost like the union of masculine and feminine are moving towards the right, but it doesn't seem to be accomplishing anything. You know, there's this aspect of that it is more of a perfunctory union and not a union of completion. So, you know, it's sort of like a marriage of convenience, you know, where, you know, two people get married, they really don't have any interest in each other. There's several kinds of Emma Young, and it would be a great book to read sometime. There's a book called Animus and Anima, you know, and she, there. I think I've mentioned this before, but she has this image of trying to describe the animus of Goethe. It is Faust. Faust is trying to translate the book of John, okay, but he doesn't know how to start it. So he says, should it start like in the beginning was the word, or in the beginning was the deed, or in the beginning was the power, or in the beginning was the meaning, you know. Now, these represent the four aspects of the animus. The first one is the power. That means just, what they call he who provides the cow. You know, this is the male being who all he does is provide a both the seed for children to the feminine. All he does is provide the seed for new life and material, some type of materialistic thing to help out raise the children. So there's no real relationship, you know. And then there's in the beginning was the deed. Well, this was the animus, who is this mysterious man from across the sea, you know, who sort of like Rudolph Valentino or some of these animus that are very mysterious, you know, and yet this dark, unknown man from across the sea is really what women secretly long for, the adventure and the deed. But it's not. It has a romantic aspect, but it's really suddenly this mysterious adventure. So with the animus, there's the mysterious adventure, and then the third one is in the beginning was the word. Well, this is the clerical. You know, the animus comes in and he's he's a scientist or something. He explains things, and then the final one is in the beginning was the meaning, and that's Merlin. You know, that's the wise old man. So anyway, this wedding couple are moving to the right towards the conscious side, but they don't seem to have any seriousness, and there's no beauty either. So there's not either. There's no awakening of the numinous energy, and there's no sense of completion. You know, there's just it's a marriage of convenience. And then they seem to be having a fun time and oblivious to everything else. Hi, Tim. Just I'm just going through a hypnagogic image that Dawn had, which I thought was very beautiful. So anyway, that just is the first aspect. This union of the male and feminine. It's the first thing I saw was a couple ballroom dancing together. They were dancing and spinning together perfectly and rather quickly, heading towards the right side of the room, which is consciousness. Took this to be a positive thing, but what troubled her was that they danced almost comically. There was no seriousness. There was no beauty. It seemed to be almost a farce, you know, but yet they seemed to be having a fun time with the farce, but it was a very surface related, you know, there was no deep sense of um, of this mystical union of the conjunctio. You know, it's sort of a very surface related, you know, so you know, having fun together, you know, say they just were enjoying each other's company, but not really anything that was possessed um, a transformative power. Okay, then she saw a table in front of me. Now, this is a very interesting one. I saw a table in front of me. To my left, there were 4 people seated at the table, but I saw none of their faces. So it's the unknown 4. It's a quaternity sitting at the table. The focus was not over their identity, but rather making sure that I had passed out enough, exactly enough cups, exactly enough empty vessels that need to be filled with um, an image or with soul. You know, since we're supposed to be an empty vessel, she's handing out to the 4 functions. Now, any image that doesn't possess the 4 functions is dead. Any image that does possess all 4 functions is the symbol, you know. So she's giving empty vessels to all 4 seated at this table, unknown, objective beings, you know. And I started with the closest to me, and I put 1 upside down cup in front of each of them. So they're upside down, you know, so they aren't turned up. So they need to be, before they can be filled, the unconscious needs to itself turn them up and fill them. So the consciousness can't do it for them. They were simple plastic cups. I'd already explained and typed this dream once for someone without any revelation, but just now while typing, it occurred to me that it might have something to do with going back down and looking at one of my dreams. I rarely keep track of them, so many of them are lost. That's pretty much all of our problems. But the first one is this kind of a surface union with the masculine and feminine, not transformative, and moving towards consciousness rather than towards the center. So it's moving towards more outer world things than to the center. The third one is, and they're both images of completion, but they're images of completion that have no fruition. You know, they don't bear fruit. You know, now the second one kind of does have implications that could bear fruit. 4 unknown objective personifications of they're unknown, and the ego is putting out empty vessels for each one of our or her or Dawn's 4 functions, empty vessels that need to be filled with what she says at the end, with the images of a dream that we don't have yet. So it's waiting for that dream. And the four functions are waiting for the dream, fill with the images, and create the symbol. But it's only an expectation, not a reality yet. Okay. Does anybody? Do you guys want to just comment on those really quickly? I just think it's so. I'm saying, Dawn, you deprecate these images, but they are absolutely stunning. I think both of these are. What do you think, Roy?
I don't know. I kind of get this feeling of discouragement. I mean, women can lead in the dance. She didn't have to sit the cups down upside downwards. It seems like discouragement.
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing is happening, but there seems to be some type of a preparation. What did you think of the dance?
Well, as you said in the black books, Sunday, when you were talking about Siegfried, the highest truth is one and the same as the absurd. It's very difficult for us to understand that. And I don't think this dream understands it. The absurdity in the dream is actually a very high truth if she can grasp what it is.
I think both of them speak to a very magical event that could occur, but for some reason is not occurring right now. What do you think, Gary?
Well, the dance, it's almost like, here you have a very solemn occasion. And yet, the couples in it, the wedded couple, they're not taking it seriously. It's sort of like the Joker, a bit ridiculing it almost. And so almost seems like a warning, and then even like, the table with the four objectifications, and then, like the functions that will hopefully fill it with the images. It's like, well, if the union isn't taken seriously, then what will happen there?
Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Because don't you think? I think there is some kind of related. But go ahead. I interrupted you.
oh well, so it's almost like a subconscious observation or warning is how I would take it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't describe it as much as a warning as a somewhat of a a kind of an I Ching cast of the hexagram. There's it seems to have implications, like she says, that are positive, but for some reason they are truncated, or even though there are implications of a deep event, a very deeply meaningful event, somehow it misses the hook a little bit. What do you think, Kevin?
I have something to add. I was very interested in the table with four people.
Yes.
For me, it's a
beautiful.
very significant. It's an if you don't know these people, if it's an unconscious that has meeting sort of, or a gathering, and that pretty much is very significant, because you're not talking about one type of consciousness. You're talking about probably four type of consciousness that is now being active in your unconscious. And perhaps that's why the guy had to, I don't know if you or you both decided to go towards the right, or the animals decided to go towards the right, because the unconscious now has a meeting. And so there is a, Jung always wrote this letter with Wolfgang Pauli, and he used to analyze his dream. And Jung always says like, okay, you have 3 prominent shadow figure, you have 2 prominent shadow figures. So the shadow figures are more pronounced, and that was in many ways also perhaps not desirable. Sometimes it is. It depends what the psyche is doing for your growth. But yeah, but if the shadow figure is too pronounced, where it will put also the ego towards that direction fully without ego awareness, then that could be obviously not always a good sign. But I like the fact in your psyche, the shadow figure is on the table, because there is a perfect option between the shadow figures. So there is a perfect meeting between different type of consciousness in their different attitude. And for me, that signals a deep level of shadow activity in a quite advanced level. It's not, there is a certain differentiation in the unconscious. There's an advancement in your shadow figure. I don't know if you have made that conscious, but your psyche has definitely made that conscious.
Put myself on mute because there was some activity going on. But yeah, that's very good. I think that these are both incredibly profound images. But what is somewhat mysterious about them is their, even though they are so profound, I think the second one, it really portends something. The first one is the one that is sort of showing too much surface. The second one shows a lot of depth, but it doesn't show the symbol yet, So, but it shows the potential for how the symbol should be made. What do you think, Tim?
Well, the thing that sticks with me here is the dancing. I'm looking at this like a kind of play. As an artist, I'm always trying to be to produce beauty or seriousness, as she says, and sometimes it doesn't work that way. And what I come up with is the best artwork because it's just having fun. And this reminds me of the upside down cups, because in order to access an upside down cup, you really have to approach it in a nonsensical way. And I think we, especially in our culture, we just devalue the irrational so much. But there's really kind of a magical way in which the irrational can fill us if we allow for that play. All of a sudden, maybe the cup is filled, even being upside down. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there's an aspect, and thank you, Tim, that kind of made me think. One of the things we can say about the upside down vessel is that it can't receive anything because it's reversed. So that kind of ties it in with the first dream, that the vessel that receives the noose or the images is reversed. It needs to, in other words, it can't accept anything at this point because of its being reversed. What do you think, Ivan?
I was thinking something similar to Tim. I like the way you put it about a play. I was thinking it's kind of like a story, right? Like a dance is, in some ways you can think of it, not always, but sometimes like it's some sort of story with like a beginning and end, and it has a rhythm to it, and it has a tempo and timing, and that thought about it being irrational, that totally makes sense to me. Just this idea that you have a dance, but the dance wasn't really seemingly for the audience. I don't know if in the dream there is an audience or not, but the dance was for the performers themselves, right? And it seemed to not be beautiful or serious. In fact, it was kind of perhaps strange.
Well, you know, both images, both sections of the image, to me, would be incredibly moving to me. Now, the fact that nothing happens in them, that in one case they move to the right, there doesn't seem to be any beauty, there doesn't seem to be a deep union. It still is a very compelling message to ego consciousness, you know, because of what it's lacking, and yet it contains the union, the deep, all the images of a deep union, and yet the fact that it doesn't happen, and there's reasons it didn't happen, are very instructive to us. Okay, and in the second case, the faceless beings, the four faceless beings at the table. You know, that says something about our unconscious. They're four faceless beings. And the fact that ego consciousness passes out vessels to them, but they are passed out in a way that they cannot receive anything. You know, now typically, I'm just going to mention this, that the receptive is the feminine, okay? Any vessel that is receptive represents feminine consciousness. So when the receptive vessel is turned upside down so it can't receive anything, there seems to be an aspect that the feminine consciousness at this point lacks not Dawn's consciousness, but her internal feminine is not receptive to the images. There's some aspect of the internal faceless four functions that is not receptive to the images. You know, even though all we needed to do was for ego consciousness to make the vessels receptive. Now, Dawn's comment about the dreams and her difficulty, which is something we all have, is the fact that they're unopened letters. You know, sometimes, Dawn, if you do have an image or a dream, if you'll just work on it, because it's the only genuine thing we have, the unconscious will be so grateful to you, and it might possibly respond, and the next time ego will be capable of making ego will set the vessels out so that they do receive the images, so the four functions do receive the images. Right now ego's setting them out and they're not set out to receive, you know, so, but yet all the requirements are there to be receptive. There's some aspect of ego consciousness that sets them out so that they can't receive. So what might the message of the stream might be, I think maybe it is saying that hey, I'm sending you all these beautiful dreams, and we're not doing anything with it. Am I just wasting my time? Apparently, ego's not receptive to my great beauty that I'm sending. All of my unopened letters, it's not receptive. But I would say in both cases, Dawn, these are profound visions. And we don't need to feel bad that they are somewhat editorializing against us, because they're trying to teach us. They love us. This being who sent us these visions absolutely adores us. It loves us and it wants to be loved. And so it's trying to instruct us. so that that love can come to fruition. And so I think both cases, I would like to think about this and maybe come back next Wednesday with a little more um, tying together of it. But Dawn, yeah, that's, unless you want to say something, why don't we revisit this on Wednesday a little bit? Just try to, everybody think about it. I don't know if you got the email. She put it in the text too. I'll send you the text. But why don't we just finish up Ivan's dream, and then we'll start on Kevin, and then Tim, if you have one, or Carl too. Carl, we might not be able to get to it till Wednesday, but we'll definitely, you'll be after Tim. But let's quickly just review Ivan's dream. I really could not link the two together, the two aspects. They seem to be the same dream, but the first one is where you were watching in a dark room. We are with three small dogs, three small white dogs.
Just to be clear, this was actually the second part of the dream.
Okay, that's the second part of the dream. Let's do the first part first. Okay, that we're in meetings with coworkers at a lobby. So the conscious attitude and I are in the place of the gathering, where various figures of the conscious attitude are gathered together. Some type of a hotel lobby, a lodge, and we're there with, I would say, with the conscious attitude. There might be some unconscious aspects, but it seems to be represent sort of our outer world persona. And it's the discussion, the meeting, is a topic that we're normally interested in, but I'm disinterested in it at the moment. The topic of the meeting would normally interest the unconscious attitude, but at this point, it doesn't have an energy evoking quality, this discussion. So this is why it seems to represent the conscious attitude. Okay, now you see co-workers from a previous job also meeting there, and you say hello to them. So it's sort of a past conscious attitude, or something is there. Some past aspect is there, and you that you've moved on from are also showing their presence. And then you leave the meeting, and you're in another one that didn't have any energy evoking qualities, and you leave the meeting, and you're in a parking lot of a strip mall. And so now consciousness is moving out of this collective realm into the strip mall. Usually represent the parking lot of the strip mall, definitely represents a middle place, so it's somewhat of a realm of I'm just saying, I used to, my father was in business, I was in business, I had all kinds of dreams about businesses, and the only thing I can say about them is they seem to represent the middle place, and this is the place of exchange between the inner world and the outer world. So it's has that quality of Hermes in it, where Hermes is the messenger that runs from the inner world to the outer world to give it a message, and then it runs from the outer world into the inner world and gives the inner world a message. So that's why Hermes has the either the wings on his feet or the wings on his helmet. He is the carrier of messages back and forth. So he sort of represents the transcendent function, or, the anima or animus, the bridge. Okay, so now there used to be a coffee stand here. There used to be, in this middle realm, there was a place of an ambrosia, which would connect us with the inner world, but it's not there anymore. The catalyst for the mood that was required here is somehow absent. The connecting thing which connects the inner and the outer world And so now consciousness loudly and angrily complains that it's ridiculous that in this middle place, there's no connecting link. In other words, it's left the first meeting because there's no energy evoking. It comes to a place where it expects to at least have something that's going to awaken libido, the caffeine or whatever. It's not there. So, I mean, the ego consciousness seems to be stranded by a lack of libido. You know, any either in the topics that used to interest us but now don't, or when we flee to go to this middle place to try to awaken the unconscious, and now there is nothing there anymore. It's empty. Okay, why don't we, now I'm not sure yet how to connect this with the second part, but does anybody want to, Roy and Gary and Tim, do you want to, and Carl, want to say whatever you can think?
I just want to pipe in with it. If this was my image, I would see the characters inside as being my own internal characters, and the outside being, you know, the outer world. And it would seem to me that the inner characters are familiar, they're friendly, but somehow there's a kind of static energy, and that the opportunity is outside, but it's not obvious, it's not immediately available. And so there has to be a different way. And it seems to me that the dog is maybe the key for finding a different way.
Yeah, we're going to get to that because that is very mysterious, the dog dream. Anybody else have any, Roy or Gary or Kevin or Carl?
But the connection for me is the newsstand. There's a message for Ivan. Hello, there's a message, you know, notice. And then that ties into the next dream, which is the message.
Okay, great. I mean, yeah, and I, like I say, I was thinking Tim's way of looking at it works perfectly well too. Either way, but the fact is that there's no numinosity, so we seek numinosity, and then where we seek it, there isn't any either, and it makes us angry. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a process of maturation, you know, where the things that previously interested and involved you are no longer sufficient, and you're moving on to, you know, things which are more, you know, of the irrational, where you're having to notice things of the soul, if you will.
Yeah, Kevin, do you have any comments or?
Not so much on this. I have a feeling the connection, but
Yes, I think everybody has already got it, like Roy, and that's there. I think they're right. Well, Carl, do you have any comments or not? Not at this point. Okay. Well, we'll get to your dreams about being held aloft by the wisdom of the sages. That was pretty beautiful, I thought, really.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, but we'll get to it. I mean, just try to get Kevin's dream, and then I'd like to, Tim, I'm sure you have a dream. Okay, okay, now here's the second part of it, and I think this brings in what's missing, the instinctive, okay, and the quaternity, you know, is missing. Out here, there's no structure, there's no sense of a wholeness or whatever, but now we're going to get to it. And it's one of Ivan's trademarks of the missing fourth, which is a beautiful image. And he's had, I don't know what, Ivan, 3-4 dreams with the missing fourth, you know?
Yeah, at least that seems to pop up in my dreams a lot.
Yes. Well, so anyway, in a dark room, gathered with beings who are very close to us, there's the instinctive, more conscious functions. White, and dogs, 3 of them. There is, there seems, first of all, consciousness saw first a 4th dog struggling, but then it thinks, no, that was just my imagination that there was a 4th dog. So then, okay, so now there's 3 with the missing 4th. There's an intuition of the 4th, but yet there's no manifestation, apparently. It does, the missing 4th is intuited, but not manifest. So now how can we get it to be manifest? Through the feminine, okay? And through the chthonic feminine. And what's the representative of the chthonic feminine? It is a dark, young feline, you know, a feminine image of the instincts. So where the dogs are the more masculine and are white, here comes the chthonic feminine in her position as a very instinctive animal, and yet one that represents the promise of new growth. So it's black, a beginning, feminine, and has the promise of new growth. Okay, and don't discount the cat or the dog, because often our anima and animus appear in a more elementary form sometimes. Okay, so then he seems to sense this is a healing image, and he is going to try to relate to it. But when he does, a more aggressive feminine comes out, also white, and it emerges behind the red chair of the feeling function. And so again, a clue to what's missing in the first dream: the instincts, the feminine, and the feeling function. That's why there's no libido, you know. And so she pushes him back because he's not really, he seems to not be worthy of this very precious new growth of the feminine yet. And he's trying to relate to it, but he's the more mature feminine seems to think he's not ready to relate to this wonderful miracle of the feminine growth, you know. Now, you reassure that feminine that you are sincere, and it then retreats with this new growth back behind the feeling function. Okay. Now, at that point, the seat of the feeling function, the red chair, and now after this encounter with the feminine, now the 4th dog manifests itself. So now there's a completion of that. It seemed to be conditional upon this encounter with the feminine. And it is eating, it's being nourished. So it came out of nowhere and now is being nourished by our table. You know, yeah, this link to the unconscious, the inferior function, which I believe is going to be probably sensation in your Ivan. I think, not sure. I think you're an INTJ, I think. Yeah, so you'd be more like me, but I think you're far more capable at sensation than I am. But anyway, it's nourishing itself at our table. The 4th function has come, the way the unconscious function becomes conscious is through the feminine, you know, and through the new growth that the feminine world can provide us. Once that happens, the fourth function becomes more conscious. I would love to have a dream where the fourth function is more conscious. My fourth function hardly ever shows itself. So, all right. Now, I think everybody guessed it before I did, but that's sort of the link with the first dream. I think the thing is I did have them reversed, you know. Does anybody have any comments on that? That any way of linking? I think we're a little bit closer, Ivan, than we were to understanding it.
I remember when you first talked about this dream, and the first part of the dream, which you shared first, was that the dog was eating from your table, and the cat also was somewhat attacking, but in not very aggressive way, but he had some force. And already then I felt it had something to do with work. I feel like there is a constellation of boundary testing, which is symbolized by the dog. The dog is very conscious when it takes something from you. You can see like you have taken something from you, and it tests your boundaries by eating the food on the table. So that already for me was a clue that it might have something to do with work and not with family, because your anima and your figure, I think you also mentioned, I don't know if it was your wife or a girl, you didn't have any bad relationships. So the only thing I could think of was work. So that's why I also said that I think this dream has to do with work. And then you share the second part with the hotel and the and meeting of your colleagues here. So I feel like once there is a constellation of your protective mechanism by the cat, it protects. There is also a constellation of boundary testing within you. So I don't know. I would be very curious. I'm not gonna ask, you know, your relationship to work, and I would dig there. I would start digging there, and obviously you can also find the deeper meaning of, you know, one's relationship to different cognitive function, anima, and one's relationship to wholeness. That's also there. I'm not taking that away. I'm just saying to look at it from a complex point of view. The dog and the female cat, I think, symbolizes your protective mechanism, the cat, and the dog is your boundary testing. You're testing boundary now.
Okay.
There's no problem with talking about my work or anything, but so I could see how the first part of the dream could be related to work. I like my job, but I'm not like particularly challenged at it right now. But I didn't feel that the second part of the dream would really have too much with that. Like I just don't like. I appreciate the comment. I'm just not sure that there's no real boundary pushing there. They're actually like, if anything, too nice.
But I'm trying to say, like, this is happening at your place in the dream, at your home, I guess. So within your ego confinement, your ego consciousness, ego awareness, what is happening everywhere else around is essentially a reflection what is happening of the changes within your ego consciousness. So what I'm trying to say, if you end up having if you end up having some conflict with a job, the conflict most likely has less to do with the job as much it has to do with your ego development. So that's why everything is happening and taking place at home. Everything just becomes a reflection of it. I don't know if you have meetings in the hotel and so on, but a hotel is a state of is a transition state. When you travel, you go to a hotel for a few days, and it's also not a longer state. It's not a trait, a behavioral trait. It's more of a state. Like I said, a transition. So I feel like there is a transition going on in your ego development, which is reflected, which will reflect everything you do, more or less, whether you know it or not.
It seems to be the outer world is not feeding Ivan, and this is an image here of how to awaken that in him a little bit. You know, I mean, it's an image of energy evoking, which he's not getting in the outer world. What do you think, Roy?
you know me, it's that black kitten and the dog eating at the table. They got his libido, man. They can feel, they can sense. I mean, it's just so obvious to me. The dream maker has so much patience, way more patience than me. I'm just, he can't see it. What can I say? I'm just tied here.
Yeah, it's very. I think it means so much more to me this week than after this discussion. Gary or Tim, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I don't know. I find both the archetypal view of it, and then like Kevin's like, wait, this could be actually down to earth, and here's another way to see it. So, it's like I could see it both ways. Yeah, I think, and I think actually in all these, we always have to try both ways. Like, hey, what are the events in your life, and what are the archetypal types of interpretations? So, yeah, that's all I've got.
You have anything, Tim, or?
Well, no, I'm just thinking of the contrast between the cat's behavior, this kind of defensive, and the dog's kind of opposite behavior of being nourished. And to me, there's something about that energy, that give and take of the body or the instinctual life or something there. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be the catalyst for the manifestation of the unconscious instinctive function. In fact, I don't think the missing fourth. Ivan, do you have any comments on this?
Gave me a lot to think about. So I do think what Kevin was saying, there is some truth in the sense of, like, especially with this pandemic, I feel like I've been doing a lot of the same stuff over and over. And I'm usually a person who likes to challenge myself with kind of new skills or new things to do. And I've been finding I try to do artwork, but it's kind of all the same, and I'm not super interested in it. I do my work, which is it's programming, but it's sort of artistic to me in the problem solving sense, and I'm not really solving any new problems, so it's still good, but it's not like a challenge. So I do think part of this dream is telling me that, like, what you're doing now worked before but isn't working now, and you need to seek something, some different challenges.
Yes, and things that are not there's no words to it either. It's instinctive.
Right. And I think there was a part of the dream where they were, trying to get a hold of me, like the two figures that were kind of shouting for me to look, and I was totally disinterested in looking at them for no real logical reason.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept too, that there's no linking of this world of stimulant is gone, yet they're trying to interest you in something, but you were seeking the stimulant, and since it's not there, you're not interested in anything they have to offer.
Right.
Even though they're very, very loud about it.
Yeah, and so I think so. The last part, the thing that you said, Craig, that actually really stood out to me was the missing fourth maybe being like another function. That suddenly was a little bit of an aha to me, that maybe that's what the dream was trying to tell me, is that I'm maybe ignoring or need to focus, or I'm not quite sure what it is there, but something around one of my functions that is not being properly attended to.
Yeah, the missing fourth is what it is the lacking. What the door to the unconscious is what makes everything flat. Until we get the fourth function involved, it doesn't possess the transformative quality. The other three functions can kind of give us some idea, but the fourth function adds magic to it.
To me, because it was the animals, I think you said this, Craig, so I don't think this is a unique idea, but because it was the animals, and just because of my personality type, it did seem the feeling function that made sense to me, what you were saying.
Yeah, I think maybe the feeling function could be your unconscious function. At least it's more unconscious than thinking. So you could be an INTP like Kevin rather than an INTJ.
But I
Because you
would
don't, you seem very like you are competent at sensate things.
it's hard one.
You always look for what I'm weakest at, and sensate is definitely what I'm weakest at.
Yeah, it's not one of my stronger senses, but
Getting lost.
it actually, but what Roy said too actually made a little bit of sense to me too, that maybe there is also this aspect of perhaps this function that is being ignored is also leading to me not putting some boundaries in place, or some boundaries being respected, or things of that nature. So I kind of I feel like I'm kind of merging some of these ideas together. There's a lot to think about, but I really appreciate all the comments.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, let's kind of split the time remaining equally between Kevin and Tim. I don't think we'll get. What I'd like to do is go through Kevin's dream just one time, and then we'll finish it up next time. And then Tim, you can present your dream, and then we'll probably have to finish that one up time as well, because I don't really think. Let's see, we got about 43 minutes left. That we can do it in 20 minutes. But let's just. I do have some ideas on Kevin's dream, and I'll go through it. And
Can you put the dream in the chat?
yeah, sure, I sure can. Just a second here. Okay, and I will also have my comments here. I might have to quick. Can you put it in there, Kevin, or not? Yeah, just put your dream. Otherwise, I can get it. It's just gonna take me a second. Sort of a little bit. Okay, Kevin, are you gonna put it in there? Okay. Well, let me see if I can get it in here. Maybe I can get it on this computer. Yeah, I got it on two different computers right now. Let me see if I can. Oh, here I can get it. Okay, if I can open it. There, I got two. It opened on two different devices. Let's see here. Okay, now this one has both my Kevin's dream and my somewhat amplification of it. All right, let's see. It's the. All right, it's just I didn't. Okay, yeah, here it is. Here it is, right here. Okay, I'm going to copy this. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Oh, shoot, I'm going into Charles Stream. Okay, there we go.
It looks like Kevin already put it in the
Oh,
chat.
Kevin already put it in. Okay, good, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry. It's just on two different devices here. Okay, well, anyway, we're going to just go through this probably one time, and then we're going to leave. So we got like 50 minutes, or no, 40 minutes. So we don't want to spend more than 20 minutes on it. Okay. Now this is a job about, or a dream about Kevin's father and a task that he's been assigned in the unconscious. Okay. Now it begins with, I'm at my grandmother's place on a porch. My cousin gets accused of for something. He gets mad and defends himself, and he seems tired of being accused. So this is very interesting. At the place of when the grandmother, she's the great mother. So she's not the transformative feminine. She's the more elemental feminine. So at the place of the elemental feminine, my shadow is being accused of something again, and does not like being accused. So at the place of the elemental feminine, our shadows being accused of something. So we're at this place of the mother of the mother, and there is a aspect here that there's accusations being thrown, and it is the shadow that's at fault. you know, and does not enjoy this accusations, which it gets, as he says, he's tired of being accused because what, you know, he does not feel guilty. So then you're about to have dinner. Walter, your father, who is deceased, by the way, and I think that Kevin's only met maybe once, is having dinner with us, and he's trying, both Kevin and Walter are trying to find a place to sit down. It's a little bit awkward, and Kevin is trying to sit in some place so he's not sitting next to this sort of a sort of unconscious father that we don't know very much about, you know, and has been absent from our life. And so there's a sense that we don't want to necessarily be intimate with it. There's an aspect of we've spent so long without it that being intimate with it right now is inappropriate. So we're about to have dinner, and that's dinner is really a ritual involving nourishing the body. The event is attended by my deceased father. We're both trying to find our place at the ritual. I'm uncomfortable to be intimate with him. His closeness creates anxiety. But actually, I can't eat anyway. I must go to another task that involves something in the unconscious. So we have a new job that makes sure, geez, I really screwed this up. That we're at a new job. Let me see. I think I just erased half of it. What? Can you read that next part, Kevin? That you're at a new job?
I had to start a new job, and my job was security for like a subway.
Okay, so that kind of means to me that we are supposed to monitor that the vehicle of the unconscious is not tampered with. You know, that's kind of what I was taking from that the vehicle of the unconscious is not to be tampered with. You know, and let me see, then, okay, all right. Okay, yeah, I somehow screwed this up. I don't know what the hell I did. Okay, so then we have, can you tell us the next part?
Let's see.
I'll pick it up as soon as we get to it.
I need to go to work. I'm to analyze the subway security measure. As I'm waiting for the tube to come behind a glass door, my mom keeps disturbing me, so I go out of the glass door into the subway platform and into the subway to work on it. I did not know what I really had to do as I was new to this job. I see a bulge out TV screen and thinking it's a new feature on the tube and must perhaps have something to do with it. I had now taken out some spring.
And other component by the door.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's just take those two images real quick. Now you're waiting for the tube or for the vehicle of the unconscious to come, and you're behind a glass door. So there's a sort of a sort of like a separation from it, almost like you're looking at it inside of a glass bowl, and your mother is there, and she keeps disturbing you. The maternal is disturbing you in the unconscious, and so you have to escape the maternal. You can't work on the vehicle of the unconscious with the mother interfering. So one of the aspects of the mother of the is that she must be related to the glass door, and so to not have this motherly aspect interfere, we need to leave her and the glass door, and so that there's no separation between us and the vehicle of our own unconscious, which we need to make sure is not tampered with by what possibly it's not. We want it to remain genuine and pure, and give us these images that are unadulterated. You know, the security aspect. Okay, now you didn't know what you really had to do because you were new to this job. You see the bulged out TV screen and thinking it's a new feature on this vehicle of the unconscious and must have something to do with it. So and you took and so the thinking function. I remember that Kevin is thinking dominant. So he is. I think there's something to do with this vehicle of the unconscious in this security system. Has to do with the thinking function. So we're unfamiliar with the vehicle, this train of the unconscious, vehicle of the unconscious. There is a device that keeps an eye on it there, but it's distorted, you know, and it's not really very conscious because it's just bulged out. And the thinking function is trying to fix it with consciousness. You know, it's an aspect of the conscious thinking functions thinks it can fix the vehicle of the unconscious, and then someone at work or you call you the work, and they are concerned that the consciousness did the right thing, you know, with this vehicle on the consciousness. You try to explain what you've done. So the center or ordering archetype is inquiring, what are you doing with this unconscious vehicle with the thinking function? You know, the thinking function is not really welcome that much here. And you try to explain what consciousness has done. And then you hear over the phone that the train has been switching tracks and warns you of the danger, and you agree. So the feminine is telling us the train has been mixing left and right, has been mixing, going away from the center and coming back, and that's dangerous. So it's this mixing of, I think, the mixing of the wordless depths with the dominant conscious function, and is making a muddle of this this healing thing. You know, that it seems the security system seems to be to try to keep the thinking function out. You know, now I'm that's a wild guess, but now you might have encountered this same vehicle driving in the opposite direction. So you've seen it both coming and going, and it had a door that was difficult, had difficulty working, and you're wondering if you had something to do with the door not working. And then it ends with some place called Godlia. Now, is that in Norway or Philippines?
It's in Oslo, Norway. It's a place I lived.
Yeah, well, it's funny that it's like the word dog, you know, it has the word God in it. You think something about the place felt like Godlia, you know, a godly place, a place I lived. I lived in a godly place. And you see your uncle in this vehicle of the unconscious. The uncle would be the brother of the mother. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's not the brother of Walter.
No.
Okay, so it's the brother of the mother is in the vehicle of the unconscious that you were fixing. he's there with your mother's sister, and he was really interested with the what you had to do. Let's see. He was really interested what I had to do for this work. I take the component in my pocket, which was hard to get out, and try to show him, but it's left deep down inside my pocket, along with other stuff that is usually in the pocket, tiny pieces of fabric. I had 2 springs and other stuff, and then I wake up. So, you know, the pockets are full of this and that. There seems to be we've been giving this job, and the thing I like about the job is it's somewhat like that you're in a course that you don't really that you don't know what the curriculum is or when the tests are or anything. This is you're not really sure, you say, what you're supposed to doing or what you're doing, but it is ego consciousness concerning itself with this vehicle of the depths, you know, which is a very, very you know, impressive vehicle. It's a train, you know, and the dream ego is trying to relate to it, but it's not sure what to do, you know, and it seems that it's questioned about the thinking function. And the other thing, the direction of this vehicle is totally ambiguous. Is it going in the right way or the wrong way? You know, what is it? You know, there's just this aspect of we don't know. Well, anyway, why don't we discuss it, and then Kevin, we'll finish it next time after we get done, and we'll finish, and we'll probably have to finish Tim's dream too. And I will just mention, try to sum up Dawn's dream, and then Carl, you'll be up on Wednesday. Okay. Roy, do you have any? We didn't get to spend much time on it, but we'll finish it next week or Monday.
Well, yeah, I'm really with the spring thing. You know, spring isn't thinking. The door to start with is anytime you have a door opening in a dream, it's very magical. And a spring isn't like a thinking thing. It has to have a certain tension. It's kind of a gray area, not too much, not too little. It has to know what to hook on. It's like a tension between the opposites. So this is a very this is like a transcendent function thing that bridges everything. It's the heart of the dream to me. Uncles are sort of with it, you know, they're sort of hip. I mean, this uncle could see it. He was interested in it. This thing in Kevin's pocket that he's having trouble getting out. He's got 2 of them in there. Yeah, this is the core of the dream to me.
It's I don't think we've ever encountered this vehicle anymore before. The one that only goes underground, you know, and but Kevin has had some pretty interesting underground dreams before. Gary, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting dream, you know, like, so not quite ready to meet with the father yet, you know, and he's taking trips into the unconscious to work things out. And the mother is there almost bugging him, you know, like, you know, trying to affect the subconscious, but he steps beyond her. You know, he goes through a door that she is not allowed to go through. So the mother influence is kind of left behind, you know, he's now, you know, it's more independent. And then we have a TV with a bulged out screen. And to me, this is like, well, you know, the subconscious is saying like, you know, look at this, you know, there's something you have to see. It's almost like pushing it onto them, you know, whatever that might be. And then, you know, just the whole thing of monitoring the subconscious and now having the power to change its track. I mean, wow. And, you know, the spring and stuff, to me, that's just like, okay, you know, here are some you're finding some pieces to it. And you're also finding things that are familiar, like the place that you lived. So yeah, I mean, like, to me, it's like, wow, you're
Yeah, the more we talk
way
about
ahead of
this,
us. You're way ahead of us in what you're doing with your subconscious.
yeah. Well, the more we talk about this, it's the more magical this vehicle seems, and also the fact that it's so muddled. Which way is it going? What do you think, Tim?
Well, one thing that really struck me, particularly as you are just speaking this part verbally, when you're talking about the glass door, just the way you said it, it made me think about this line from the Bible. Now I see through the glass darkly, but then we shall see
Face to face. Yeah,
And-
see it face to face.
And it feels like, especially with what Gary said about the possibilities of switching tracks and switching directions, and with the figure of the mother and the father, there's just a bunch of potential there. And it seems like what I'm getting out of it is there's, it's right now it's really confusing, but something is going to break through and there will be this big revelation.
Yeah, it's got so much in it, and
Yeah.
I mean, the more we're talking about, the more my mind is just racing. Now, I want to tell you something about the glass. When you say like a glass wall has come between us, you can see the individual, but there's no human warmth or connection, no real connection. And I had the opposite thing happen when my mother passed away. There was a dream that there was a tree in the front yard where the traffic flows, where life flows, and it was being transplanted to the backyard, and where there is no traffic, it's far from the flow of life, and yet now you could only see it through a window pane. So there was this aspect of it that this tree that represented my mother was being put in the way away from the flow of life, and the only way that you could see it now was through a pane of glass where there's no human warmth anymore. So anyway, what do you think, Ivan?
It's a really interesting dream. I'm really struggling with it. So I feel like that this dream is, so I think the father figure is some aspect of, I want to say like the animus that you are uncomfortable with or haven't really figured out what your relationship to it is. And then you're going underground and almost in a way that it's like you are the guardian of this place where all these things connect together. Man, I don't know what to make of the TV and the spring and the components.
And going back
Kevin,
and forth, not knowing which way it goes.
Your dreams always stump me in a good way.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of your most interesting dreams. Well, let's finish it, because we brought up a lot of very interesting things that need to be addressed. I wonder, Tim, if you could just introduce your dream. I want to just say, Tim, the dreams you've had, I think always haunt me later, and I think about them. So go ahead. Why don't you at least introduce it? And I don't think we could probably finish it today, but we'll do you and Kevin's next time.
Okay. This is another double dream, kind of like Ivan's. Comes in two parts. Oh, I'm trying to paste it in, but it won't let me.
Okay. Well, you could email it to me, or if you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell it to you, and we'll
Okay.
figure it out later.
Okay.
I'm on the top of a hill, probably a local hill in the wintertime. There's about maybe 8 or 10 inches of snow on the ground. I'm in a car on a highway, and there's a kind of a competition going on. And so I've been down a few times, and I'm going for another run down this road, driving in Tessa's car. She's my former manager and a good friend. She's got a white kind of a sports car, a cool sports car. I'm driving, I start down the road and almost immediately slide off the edge of the road. And we go tumbling down the mountain. And amazingly, there's enough snow that the car doesn't get crumpled up. And when we stop, it's not ruined or anything, but I want to make sure she's safe, and I'm calling to her. I don't hear anything. And I start feeling around in the passenger side, and she's just totally gone. And I realize the car is still moving, and the car has apparently rolled down and come right side up on the road farther down the mountain and is going forward, and I'm trying to look out the windshield. Suddenly, I find myself on the roof of a house just down the street. It's John's house. I'm sitting on the edge on the second floor, apparently stable, but scared to death that I'm going to fall off. And I'm checking the downspout and the gutter, looking for a possible way to get down, but I can't find anything. It's evening, and because I haven't seen John, I think, well, he's probably gone. And finally, the neighbor comes out of his house onto the sidewalk, and I yelled to him to go find me a ladder. And this brings John out of the house. He sees me, very calmly proceeds to go to get a ladder. That's it.
All right. Well, okay. So there's two sections to this dream too, as you say. And the first one is that you're in the top of a hill in winter with about 8 to 10 inches of snow. So it's not very easy to navigate, okay, because there's this the roads are somewhat not clear, and you're in a car in the Anima's car, and it's a very cool car, and you're driving. It's a sports car, so that's important. And then suddenly you slide off the road. Now this is so beautiful. I mean, I don't say it's beautiful, but it's just powerful. Let's put it that way. You slide off the road, and again, this is like my car dreams. The car slides out of control, and yet it doesn't really damage anything. So in other words, the idea here is that who's driving the car? Not me. I think I'm driving it, but I'm not. Now, in this case, this is something we're going to really have to figure out next time, is why would the car slide off the road and it tumbles? You say rolls, does it? It rolls, and so then it comes back on its on its side and keeps moving, and yet we're looking for the Tess, Anima. She's gone. She's disappeared. So there's this aspect of we're with the Anima, then this vehicle of the ego slides off the road, rolls into a descent, and the Anima disappears. Okay, and we don't know what happened to her. Okay, so then the second part of the dream is we're stuck on a roof. We're very high up, and we can't get down. Okay, now in this first case, we're on a high hill, and we make a descent, but it's not a controlled descent. And in the descent that was uncontrolled, suddenly the feminine is gone. you know. Now, in this case, we didn't hear anything about a feminine, but ego consciousness is stuck up above on a roof. Can't get off. There's no way down. Okay, and so we call out for help, and to a stranger, and then suddenly John, who could represent, you know, I don't say every male figure in our dream has to represent the shadow, because there's no threatening aspect as far as John is concerned. You know, so it could represent some other aspect other than that part of us we reject. But anyway, it is going to bring, or John is going to bring the means of making a safe descent. Okay, so that's why it might, I mean, we want Tim to talk about John a little bit later, but could you say anything about John? What's your relationship with John?
Well, let me give you a little background on this. This seems like it's very much a distillation of kind of my life situation, because Tess was my manager for a few years, and we had an experience that is very like the beginning part of the dream, where, you know, she's running my art career, and this is a tough situation, but we're going along pretty well. And then there's this catastrophe. The whole thing falls apart. She quits, and I'm carrying on my career, even though it's very slow and I can hardly see what's going on. So that's very parallel. And meanwhile, John, who's a good buddy from years and years ago, his house is right smack in between my studio and my home, where I don't live anymore. And so I'm wondering if there isn't a real association here with kind of my life and where I am now and where I used to be, and this influence of, I don't know if it's the anima or if it's kind of a guide, a professional guide.
Well, the two consistent themes is both cases, ego is too high up or is high up, isn't necessarily too high up, but is high up and needs to make a descent. And in one case, it's an uncontrolled descent, and in the second case, there's no means of the descent. You know, so and we don't know what that means. Again, this is one that if we brood on it, there's going to answer come, just like it did in Ivan's dream.
Right.
What do you think, Roy? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the two descents, you're right. And the ego's too high up. And the anima goes missing.
Beautiful.
And it's a great revelation here in this dream. And I think it's a theme that's followed in his other dreams that Tim hasn't been able to solve. You know, I hope he does. It's just such a great mystery.
And you would normally think that a descent would lead to a relationship with the feminine, but in this case, after we make the descent, the feminine is missing. So that's a mystery we're going to have to keep talking about. What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, it's because there's so much history in this. I think this one's probably going to be a little beyond me, because I think it'll be real easy to miss and get an improper interpretation. But especially the first part feels like it's saying like, wait, you're starting off with the same sort of potentially disastrous direction that the same thing might happen again, and then. Then John and being on top of the house, that's like.
There's no means of a descent. Only John can help us descend. Yeah.
But again, at the same time, it's sort of a high view where maybe you can see more than the first situation. So there's no means of descent initially, and yet it doesn't have the same danger as, as the snow one, which was totally out of control.
Yeah, that is. I mean, I was just gasping as Tim was telling it.
But yeah, I wish, I wish we were truly experts for this one.
Well, I think we will be if we keep working
Yeah.
on it. You lend ego attention to anything, and what was unclear before starts to emerge. So, Tim, do email us the dream. Kevin, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I totally agree with Gary. I don't. I think at least I will miss so much of this dream. But I don't know. You said about John as someone that lived between essentially your personal life and your studio. So I feel like the connecting link, the saving factor in your psyche from being on that roof, if someone is someone in between your artistic life and your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a this is what it's like the balance of opposites.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if also John is, if we're gonna go archetypally, could also be an allusion to John the Baptist and what his role in this dream is.
Yeah, John the Baptist was a precursor of a higher self that comes. I mean, he says that beautiful painting where he's pointing up. He says, "I must become lesser, and he must become greater." There's this aspect. But I love the image, and Tim, you'll have to speak to this too. Of you mentioned that your personal life used to be between you and your studio, but now it's no longer there. I mean, that's almost like a dream, really. That now all of your life is in your artistic work. I don't think that's necessarily literally true, but just the the image that John was halfway between that Kevin mentioned. John was halfway between your personal life and your artistic life. It seems dreamlike. I don't think it necessarily is what the dream is saying, but it's beautiful. It's a pretty interesting image. What do you think, Tim? Is there anything to that or not?
Well, one thing I'm thinking about is I've had at least 3 dreams in the last 2 or 3 weeks about this little stretch of street between these 2 buildings. They're about 3 blocks apart. It's always on the same side of the street, which is how you would walk if you're going from one to the other. And some of the 3 dreams associate with the other house, but always on this line between us. And this one, John's house is right smack in between. So I'm thinking, okay, something's going on there. And this aspect of crying for a ladder and having the John figure going to get the ladder is the way for me to descend. And I don't, the professional thing I think is important because the parallel is so direct. Like at the very beginning, there seems to be a contest, and I've done this a number of times, and it's been successful. So that parallels having had this pretty successful artistic career for 20 years. And I get a new manager, and it goes pretty well for a little while, and then it blows apart. So that's
Well, I always
association.
dreams about previous houses. I'm always back at this previous house, one that was very apparently the unconscious has a attraction to. Now what's interesting is you've got your artistic life, and then you've got this house that the unconscious has an idea of. Maybe you don't, but then there's this middle place where the middle man lives, and we're stuck on the middleman's roof. and we have no way of descending without the help of the middleman. You know, he can help us descend. We're stuck too high up between our artistic life and our personal life, and the only one that can help us is one who mediates between the two. You know, what do you think, Ivan? Do you have any comments on it or not?
So I thought it was interesting that your was her name Tess?
Yes.
Yeah. So your manager, she disappears on the descent. That struck me quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't. That is so mysterious.
Right. Yeah, it just seems to be something about elevation in these dreams that seems to be very important.
Yeah, often, Tim. I don't say often, but I think at least in 2 or 3 cases, your anima has been a one that was up on a high place. Is that right or not?
Well, in one other dream, yeah.
Yeah, one other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would say, Tim, if you can send us the text of that, it's what's interesting about it is the juxtaposition of 2 descents. One descent uncontrolled with the feminine, the other one where we find ourselves at a middle place, where someone at least positionally represents a mediator between a home and a studio, or a home and a workplace, a home and an artistic life. That this is where we're stuck. You know, we are stuck between what used to be our personal life and now our artistic life, where we seem to devoted a lot of. What do you think, Tim? Do you think that you're how would you describe your artistic life right now? Is it casual or is it intense?
It's intense internally and just sort of extinct externally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
okay.
my business fell apart. You know, there's no,
Yes. Okay.
no outlet. So
Well, see, then the unconscious in, you know,
Uh-huh.
because it's no longer such an outer world pursuit. There's an aspect now where it's it is very linked to the unconscious. But again, I think let's revisit this next time. And I tell you, Tim, I just have a feeling, and Kevin too, that both these dreams are so pregnant with mysteriousness that we haven't wrapped our heads around yet. So there is a potential here that's a great opportunity. And Dawn too, I think yours is every bit as much as this. So we'll review Dawn's, then we're going to do Kevin, then Tim, and then Carl. You sent us a dream. We'll devote our full attention to your dream next time, and that'll be Wednesday, so that's just day after tomorrow. So,
Okay.
Anyway, well, thank you, everybody. And Tim, thank you for that dream. And Kevin and Ivan and everybody. So, and
All right.
Dawn, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you day after tomorrow then.
Good
Okay.
enough. Thanks.
Okay, bye, guys. Good night.